Eddie, yes.
Mr. Bonine, you talked about going and watch the Superdome or the football games tonight. Obviously, there's select football games that we had last weekend and non-select this weekend. Your view on that and your view on the proposed vote come January to split even more with more sports.
The first question, we were going through state playoffs last weekend, so I wasn't able to get down here to watch the select championships and enjoy the championships we have here. As I stated in my interview, when I spoke with the committee, is that at this particular juncture, my job is to get as much information as I can to find out how Louisiana got to where they are now with the split championships, to discuss that with those individuals that made those decisions. I am going to make myself available for approximately 17 days in January. I'll be down here. I'm going to travel with, I think, Mr. Bonifay and Mr. Anderson and meet with all the principals across the state. They plotted out a path for us. I think we're going to be in 6 cities in 4 days or something like that, and to meet with all of those individuals and find out what really is the opinion. And I'm going to make any recommendations, working with the committee, I'm going to make any recommendations that are data-driven and informational driven. So my job on the 1st of January is to work, that's the week before the conference that you're referring to, and get any information I can, gather that information, and I don't want to be in a position where whatever we come up with is a push through, and I've said this more than once, for me it's about moving good solid policy or good solid process forward. And when we do that, then I think we're making a good sound decision in the process. And we need to make sure that when we do that, it's not affecting just certain groups, but it's powerful for everybody. So it's tough for me to speak specifics and have an opinion at this point, because my first goal was to concentrate on sitting where I am today. One down. Now it's about working cooperatively with the principals and finding out what the status is, where we are, meeting with Mr. Geis, Mr. Bonifay, Mr. Anderson, individuals who have a lot more experience in this state than I do, and find out what's going on and why are we where we are today. Where did this split come from? Who drew it up? Who was the author? Talk to that person, find out what the information background was on basing that decision, and then at that time I will gladly sit with you or any of you and talk about that. At the conference, you're going to hear kind of what I said today, because I'm not ready to make a decision. And I told the committee when in the interview process, when I asked the timeline, and that there was maybe it was in September and it had been pushed to January, and there's proposals coming forward. Like, whoa, okay. I don't know if I can do it in that short period of time, because whatever is authored, I have to defend the shield of the LHSAA and how we got there. And I truly believe if I'm going to do that in a selfish way, I need to be a part of that process and understand why we're doing it and how we got there, not just endorse it and then have to do something different in the future. What I would like to get in place, I'd like to get in place whatever that is and whatever it looks like, to get in place so we can live with it for a period of 3 to 4 years and know where we're at that point. And all along, and I mentioned this before to a couple of people that I did some phone interviews with, it's old school for me, but I'm a whiteboard guy. And that means that anything we put up on that whiteboard, we make sure we use dry erase markers, because if you write on it permanently, you ruin the board. And it's there, and it takes some cleaning to get it off. So if we keep that whiteboard theory, and we put what we need to up there, if it's not working, I'm not too proud to say, it's not working. Let's erase this part and address that phase. Let's not throw all the babies out with the bathwater. Let's take care of pieces of it and get it taken care of. Did I answer your question? To a certain degree? Sure. I won't always be that. I won't always be like that. We'll get to the point, but that's where I'm at this point.
Mr. Bonine, you talked about, when we spoke about just your experiences, you've dealt with a variety of schools, some of the same issues, private schools, charter schools. I know it's going to be different here. Based on what you've been able to gather through research so far, are there any comparisons you can make maybe between your experience in Nevada and what you know right now, or would that be unfair to ask?
Not unfair to ask. I'll try to answer your question. You are who with who?
Robin Favre, I'm with you.
Okay, Robin, thank you. And I think I've spoken to you, so very good. Okay. In our state, we have nowhere near, first of all, the number of member schools you have in comparison. I think you're right around almost 390. We have 110. We have, as you all in this room probably know, we have one private school that is very dominating in multiple sports. So the overall private piece, maybe one that's a perennial power, not only within our state, but nationally, may have given me some experience. And I know the burning question has been about, Mr. Bonine, is it true that you tried to kick a private school out of your association? And that is not what happened. And I'm not going to get into that part, other than that we were a public school association. The NIAA is a public school association. I answered directly to a board of control, but overall our legislative commission were the 17 state school superintendents. Private schools are allowed in the association. I was asked by that group to approach that particular school and ask if they would be interested in changing their membership, if they're interested in playing on the national circuit to do so. And I met eyeball to eyeball with them on their campus to have that discussion. Explained to them it was going to be on the next board agenda, and the next thing you know, I'm trying to kick them out of the NIAA. That wasn't the case at all, but that's neither here nor there at this point. But that's that part of the private. So I do have some experience there. More experience in charter school participation if their zone school of residence. Homeschool students have full eligibility within the state, so I'm accustomed to that. We have signature academies, schools within schools, magnet schools. All of those things, we've gone through that process in our state, and our regulations address. So that will be some of the first ones. I mentioned the 12 to 15 I deal with. When it comes to transfer of eligibility, establishing residency, we're in the process, my family are in that same process, and where we're going to decide we want to go to school, that first choice, what you want to do, what you're zoned for, all the same. We play by the same rules, even though I'm your new executive director. So I'm going to get used to those and look at those very closely. And to make the determinations on that, but also take a real close look at the regulations that invite the transfer, not necessarily the bona fide move or the residential piece, but also the piece of where you establish your eligibility, the time frame in which it takes to establish that eligibility, and then the time frame it takes if you choose to leave that facility. And I do say the word choose, it's a choice, to leave that particular educational institution to another one, and I'll be reviewing those as well. So I'll have a feel for that. So I have the experience in those areas that I just discussed. I have not dealt with the magnitude of schools in regards to feelings, but I have dealt with the feelings. Same tune, different station, it's just the volume's a little bit louder here.
Mr. Bonine,
Excuse me, that's okay. Ms. Robbins, is there anything else?
That's good. That's good.
Did I hit your points? Thank you, ma'am.
Matt Bonine, the Shreveport Times.
Hi, ma'am.
What's your general philosophy as opposed to parents and families choosing which school to send their student athletes, and then neighborhood schools being protective of student athletes that live within their district?
What would be I'm going to answer a question with a question real quick first, Matt. Is it an academic reason they're changing? Is it because this particular school they're transferring to offers a faith-based education, offers a different academic program, maybe even a foreign language, ROTC, something that you don't have at your school? Is that the most of what we hear here? Because I've yet heard of transfer because of athletic purposes, okay? They always check that. They don't say, no, I'm going for athletics. You kidding me? That's why I'm going there. No. So I'm asking if that's common down here.
It's, what the real intention is, I think, is always up to question. But some of it is academic, some of it is, and they end up playing athletics. I mean, it's kind of a complex question, I guess.
It is. That's why I threw it back at you.
Right.
But I've had it before. You take each individual case with its own merit, and that's going to be the job of staff. And I had some compliance people that helped me with that process and make recommendations and cross every T and dot every I. There's not one case that's not going to just too little or too small, too big that I won't put my eyes on. I don't need my fingerprint on all, but I know the bottom line is when it's all said and done from staff, I'm the one that's going to sign it. I got to feel good about that, and that's where the trust in staff and the trust in the individuals that have the history and traditions here. When someone walks in and hands me a transfer, well, here's another one going here. And we're going to talk about that here place. So that's just some of the stuff we're going to look at. But I believe people should have choices on where they go to school. But because you find more times than not, whether it be in the public setting where there's boundaries, in this case the non-select, or others, it's school choices, and students should have those choices. But we're finding more often than not when it comes to maybe the public school, at least in our state, and maybe here, you're not finding those students that really want to sometimes attend the school that there's only to go to. And I believe the leadership in the high schools are doing a great job across our nation in keeping those students there and making it attractive for those students to stay at those schools, whether it be non-public, private, or not necessarily parochial, or parochial private, or the select schools that you highlight here in the state. So I think that the choices, you should have that opportunity to choose. But with the choice you make, there's a guidelines. You can't expect to go to, if you're zoned for one school, zone of residence, go to another, expect that full eligibility from the get-go. But if you go, okay, but there's going to be a paper trail that upon your exit, if you choose not to go there because that academic program wasn't quite what you thought it was, or you're not getting the playing time you thought you were, maybe it's better to go back to someplace else, and that's our job, staff's job, to take a real close look at that to make sure we're consistent, we're fair, and we're swift with the decisions that we make, so everybody knows we're on the same page. And I think the consistency is going to be the biggest issue. For us, the main thing, not meaning it's an issue now, but meaning we're going to be consistent is one of our goals. But I also want to stress that working cooperatively with the principals, I'm a firm believer in institutional integrity. And we need to bank on the fact that the principals have a grasp on their schools, they know what's going on, and they're going to have open lines of communication with not only myself, but with our office. Did I get your, Matt?
I guess so.
Am I picking them?
Yes, you.
Oh, I'm picking them.
Yes,
Sorry.
they basically want you, yes.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
Kate Wazan, ESPN Baton Rouge.
Thank you.
Thank you. Part of the concern outside of the split championships is that there is somewhat of a divide between the LHSAA and member schools. What is your philosophy on unifying from this point going forward the schools and the organization to become more unified?
And thank you for bringing me to speed on that there was a rift between the two. There was a thing. I'm going to learn about that apparently, but here's a simple answer to that. In my opinion, all the member schools in our state are the LHSAA. And they've chosen through the committee for me to lead that. And I will work not only with those individuals, I will support them, they support me, but I want to walk alongside them as members of the association and keep that integrity. So bottom line is we're all the LHSAA, so when someone says, oh, the LHSAA made that decision, you're kind of part of that. If you're a dues-paying member, and that's why we have the committee, and every part of this state is represented and recognized by members of the executive committee. So we have the ability to talk to everybody and work cooperatively through them to the member schools in which are in their region or area to make right decisions for kids. That's my quick take on that one, man. Yes, sir.
That's pretty much the question I had, but.
Come up with another one.
Okay. Ron Mercado, Marion Herald, New Orleans. How do you plan to handle conflict resolution? You have private, public, Catholic, charter, and if there is a proposal put forth that you don't particularly agree with, would you talk to the author of that proposal to try to explain your point?
Yes, sir. As I mentioned earlier, I'm not the end-all be-all, but I need to be in a position where I can help you if that's what you want me to do with your proposal, and tell me why you got to where you are with that particular proposal. And then we can talk through that process. But if it boils down to a conflict between specific member schools, I believe that part of the compensation package I get a vehicle, so I'm going to drive a little bit. And I'm going to meet with some people and talk, because the first 30 to 60 to 90 days of my job will be making relationships, building relationships, gaining trust. And I also, by working through the executive committee, because we have principals obviously on that committee, working with them to make sure that we are able to communicate. Communication is huge for me. I'm not short for gab, but I have nice sized ears and I like to listen. And I was told by my dad back in the day, son, you got one mouth and 2 ears for a reason. So I'm going to listen twice as much as I talk. And I took that to heart, and I'm going to do that. And I think that's the approach I need to take. Thank you.
Any other questions? As Mr. Bonine mentioned,